Bonsoir, bonjour à tous. Hello everyone. Welcome to the High Performance Update meeting for August 2026. For the main body of this presentation, I will be speaking in English. Pour la présentation, je m'exprimerai en anglais, mais si vous avez des questions, veuillez les poser dans la langue de votre choix et nous y recontacterons pour vous fournir plus d'informations. As we stand today, we're officially 690 days away from the LA 2028 Olympic Games. We are very excited about this. Let's dive into the presentation. Before we begin the formal updates, I just want to acknowledge Boxing Canada operates on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of many different Indigenous peoples. We aim to share our sport in the same spirit of respect, community, and shared land for the benefit of all. At Boxing Canada, we strive to create a safe and welcoming environment for all athletes, coaches, and officials, where we support one another to continuously improve and achieve our goals. Chez Boxe Canada, nous renforcerons un climat d'environnement accueillant pour tous les athlètes, les entraîneurs et les officiels, où nous progresser et atteindre nos objectifs. Excuse me. Here's a quick look at the agenda for today's meeting. We'll do an overview of our new 2027 national team programs. This will include our PanAm Games internal nomination procedures for next year, our Olympic qualification strategy and internal nomination procedures for that event, the actual 2027 national team plan overview, and some updates around this year's 2026 national team plans that still have yet to occur, and then a little bit of information on elite nationals and a look at our upcoming calendar. Looking at our year-over-year, multi-year high performance progression, just a reminder, in 2025 through 2026, we really had a focus on our primary goal for the A and B team being gain high level of experience in order to prepare for 2028. And then our C team and U19 teams were focused on talent ID and preparation for 2032. In the upcoming two seasons, 2027 and 2028, there will be a shift. In 2027, the A team will be working directly to qualifying for the 2028 Olympics, while the B team athletes will aim to step up to the A team. Our C team athletes will be looking to move up to the B team, and our U19 athletes to integrate into the C team. For 2028, of course, the focus will be on the Olympics, and there is a last chance opportunity for selection for any categories where we don't already have athletes selected. Now, looking at preparations for PanAm Games. Unlike the official Olympic qualification process, PanAm Games spots belong to the country, not to individual athletes. It is up to Canada to decide how these allocated spots are assigned. Looking to our Continental Championship. Our first opportunity will be at our Continental Championships in 2026. This is a big team strategy. We will be looking to have top 4 results, because any top 4 result in an Olympic weight class will earn Canada a spot at the PanAm Games. At PanAm Games qualifier number 2 in February 2027, we will have a small team strategy. This will only be for weight classes where we did not already have a top 4 at Continentals. A top 4 in any Olympic weight category at that event will earn Canada a spot at PanAm Games. When we look at how we're actually doing the selection for PanAm Games, we essentially have 2 forms of selection. The first is international, with priorities 1 through 4. And then we will go to, if we haven't filled up any spots at that point, we will go to a selection where we just select the athlete who won the spot for Canada. And we feel this is the fairest way to divide out those spots. If for some reason there is any dispute in that, of course, we still have HPD discretionary selection available to us. When we look at our Olympic qualification strategy, here we really have 4 major opportunities. The first being our World Championships in 2027. That's April. This is a big team strategy. Then we have our Pan American Continental Olympic qualifier in 2027. We expect that to be in October or November 2027. That is also a big team strategy, although we only have opportunities for top 2 in each Olympic weight category. For all weight classes where we have not selected an athlete directly to the Olympics at that point, there will be a major reset, and the 2027 Elite Nationals becomes extremely important at this point, because any selection going forward from there will include how you did at 2027 Elite Nationals. We have Olympic Qualifier 1 in March 2028. It is what we would consider a small team strategy. We will only be going where we have an opportunity for athletes to qualify. And then if we still have spots available to us, we will go to World Qualifier number 2, which is scheduled for May 2028, and again, a small team strategy at that point. So when we look at how does this update our pathway to the Olympics that we've had around for a little while now, really it's this addition of the 2027 Elite Nationals as being an absolutely critical mark. So any athletes who have not qualified by the time we have 2027 Elite Nationals, you really need to be there in order to have any opportunity to continue moving forward. Now, looking at our 2027 NTP, which will be official as of September 1st this year. Just a rundown on what we've got. We've divided this out into sections for camps, A-level events, B-level events, C-level events, and then our U17, U19, and U23 strategy. At our A-level events, we've really got a World Cup, then the World Championships, then a World Cup and a World Cup Finals. For our B-level events, we have got 5 opportunities this year with Boxe, Amarcomert, Usti, our Pan American Games, then a to-be-determined B-level event, and then our Pan American Olympic qualification right before Nationals. At the C level, we've been lucky to have a few extra events also. We have the Pan American Games qualifier number 2, that's the one very early in February. Then we get into our dual meets, and we have a new women's only dual meet in her corner that'll be happening in Regina. We have our perennial Battle of the Prairies and Fiacco Cup, also in Regina. We have Fight Night 6 in Selkirk, the Melee Gala in Winnipeg, and then a yet-to-be-determined date, but in Montreal, where we'll have another dual meet opportunity, and potentially more than one in Montreal. So really, we're able to get across the entire country this year. Looking at our U17, U19, and U23 strategy, we've pivoted a little bit on the Canada Cup, and there will be a new International Team Challenge event, and details of that will be released shortly. We are also looking forward to having our U17 and U19 Continental Championships, so both teams will be able to go to that. However, at this point in time, we have not heard any details about either location or time of year. And then we will have a separate second U19 camp and competition internationally, but until we know when the U17, U19 Continental Championships are, we have not been able to determine exactly which event we will be going to. Some details around the NTP that we want to highlight. So, reminder, in order for an international event or criteria to be accepted for selection, you must have one win by either split decision, unanimous decision, or referee stops contest. We've also added a universal tiebreaker. So if we are in a situation where we can't determine who should actually get a spot, there is now a set of criteria in order to make sure that happens, unless the criteria includes a dedicated tiebreaker. We have added a new injury illness provision, and this only applies to athletes who have achieved a top 8 or higher at a World Cup in that year, but we thought it was an important addition to make sure that we're protecting the best long-term interests of athletes who have clearly demonstrated their ability to compete on the international stage. We remain committed to the idea that we are not going to rely on box-offs for positions. Unless an event is scheduled on the calendar, we are not going to add unscheduled events at the last minute. We just don't think that this is fair to the athletes involved. Reminder that international bouts take precedent over domestic bouts, so if an athlete is out of the country representing Canada, then we will make sure that any domestic selection event that they would have normally been at, they will receive an equivalent to first place for the purposes of selection. And of course, we've got an opportunity to recognize that any of our female athletes who become pregnant during the year, that this should not negatively affect their opportunity to continue with the sport internationally. So we will protect any results that they've had within that year and maintain them until that athlete has had an opportunity to successfully come back from their pregnancy and are ready to return to competition. We have added a dedicated competitive readiness standard, and the intention here is to make sure that athletes are able to meet the commitment that they've made through the selection criteria that they've attained. And if an athlete is injured would be an example, or unable to compete because they had stopped training, or potentially are restricted from competing because they had a doping infraction or a safe sport infraction, that if they are not ready to go, that we have an opportunity in the criteria to say, look, you're not meeting the competitive readiness standard, we can't have you there. And we've, of course, got clauses in all of our criteria around athletes, but also coaches being in good standing with the association. So you need to be a current member, you need to have no outstanding debt to the organization or to your provincial organization if you are going to represent Canada. We've highlighted personal coaching opportunities, and we are trying to increase the number of personal coach opportunities and also put some structure around those activities wherever possible. And a reminder that we have an athlete advisory group, and we are going to be updating this group because we haven't had a changeover in the composition for 2 years, and I think it's about time. You'll see information come out about that this fall. Reminder about what national team programs we actually have. So there's the actual national team plan, of course updated for 2027. There's the associated flowchart with that, so my spaghetti diagram. Then we've got our long-term high performance plan, which goes into significantly more detail around a lot of the whys and the hows of what we are trying to do in the long term with our high performance program. We have our athlete dashboard that highlights categorization and AAP selection. And everyone, both coaches and athletes, really needs to understand these concepts around categorization, centralization, what supports are available for athletes and coaches, what needs to be done for selection to camps and tours, and of course what needs to be done for selection for the athletes assistance program, both in the criteria and how we are ranking athletes at any given. Now, a reminder about our tour feedback. We're always happy to pull feedback because we are always looking to do things better if we possibly can, and we sincerely thank everyone who has submitted tour evaluations for this year. We will continue doing this and continuing to refine our operations based on that feedback. Now, looking at some of the results that we have recently had since the last update, we have completed the Commonwealth Games, and a big congratulations to silver medalists Scarlett Delgado at Destiny, Marie Amadelia out of the corner, and bronze medals for Amber and Josh, who both fight out of Marshall's Boxing Club in the greater Edmonton area. So congratulations to all of the team. We're very proud of how all 6 of our athletes did at the competition. Looking ahead to Mexico, so we have our Continental Championships. There will be a camp there from October 3rd until 16th, and then we've got our competition until the 25th. Our goals for that, of course, are to have top 3 finishes in Olympic weight classes in preparation for 2027, but also important to remember that we do have spots that we can qualify for top 4s at the PanAm Games, so absolutely critical that we have strong results. We are going in there with a very large team, with the assistance, of course, of head coach Vincent Auclair, senior national team coach Samir Mise, national team coach Ariane Fortin. We've got coach intern Ulissa Agudelo, and we'll have a number of personal coaches also coming along for the trip. At virtually the same time, we've got our U19 World Championships that will be taking place in Montenegro. Our goals there are to have top 8 finishes and to gain critical international experience. We really are looking at maximizing those top 8s, and if we're able to convert up to a medal, that would be great. All the selection for this was done based off of our U19 National Championships early this year. An important note for our PTSOs, because this event will conflict with some provincial championships, we strongly encourage PTSOs to structure their selection criteria so that the U19 World Championships team members are granted an equivalent to first place standing going into their provincial selections. And a quick reminder about the Youth Olympic Games. That is taking place at the end of October into November in Dakar, Senegal. We have had 2 spots granted to us by the IOC, one for Lissandro and one for Marine. Congratulations to them. And we will have our single coach that we got a space for, Brad Ross, going to that event. And then 2 other events internationally that have been added to the calendar. Anyone who is ranked number 1 at the Continental Championships will have the opportunity in an Olympic weight class to go and compete at the PAPP Cup. And this will be a dual meet between the Continental Championship from all the Americas against the Continental Championship for Europe. So excited, that should be a great event. And then the World Cup final. So this will be determined by World Cup rankings. That is top 8 per weight category are getting invited to that. But that is the only athletes who will be invited. We do understand there will be roll downs for that, but we will have to see what the rankings look like after the Continental Championships to know who will actually be invited. The PAPP Cup and this event will both conflict with elite nationals, so any athletes who go to that event will receive the equivalent of first place at our national championships for the purpose of selection in the 2027 NTP. And speaking of our elite nationals, just a reminder that open up September 1st or September 2nd. And of course, we would really like to see everyone get registered as quickly as possible. We understand that for provinces who may need to do their team selection later on after the provincial championships, that's fine. You do have the ability to register athletes in advance. You can register them without assigning a name to them. So you could just register athlete 1 or athlete 2. That's fine. And that way you can take advantage of the early bird registration fees that are available to you. Certainly, if you think you were going to register someone, but you don't end up registering them because you don't have someone who met your criteria at your provincial championships, we will refund that. That's not a problem. And of course, a reminder that anyone who withdraws after the draw will be billed a scratch fee, and that will be charged to the province. And to wrap up, looking at our schedule of upcoming dates, we needed to take off 2 there, so I apologize. But U23 assessment camp is coming up in just 2 weeks, so we're very, very excited about that in Montreal. And then, of course, Melee Gala, our Continental Championships, our World U19 Championships, Youth Olympic Games, and everything else and we've been able to add on 2 at the end there. So December 6th, we've got, sorry, maybe December 5th. I may have that wrong. I think it's December 5th, the Boxing Canada AGM. And then, of course, a reminder that we will have camps in January at the National Training Centre in Montreal. Details of that will be in the NTP. So in conclusion, thank you. We appreciate your time, as always. If you have any questions about snaking your way through this pathway, please don't hesitate to join us for our available open meetings on the 27th and 28th of this month. They're available on our website, the exact Zoom details, and we look forward to seeing you there.